also this Musk-Navarro back and forth. You know, Musk now being a little more vocal this morning on X. Navarro is truly a moron. What he says here is demonstrably false. Responding to some comments.
I've been reporting the last couple of days.
Navarro said that Tesla is just an assembler of cars, not a manufacturer of cars, which is, of course, not true.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's a ridiculous statement. And, I mean, Musk is right to call it out. I've been reporting the last couple of days. Obviously, unfortunately, I haven't spoken directly to Elon Musk, but what I have heard from those who do is that he is increasingly concerned about what tariffs will mean, even though, as he points out, he is making an awful lot of automobiles here in the United States. It's still, a fairly large percentage of the components for those come from other countries, and they will face tariffs, and that will hit margins, and that's a great concern to him, is my understanding. He's made that clear to the president, is my belief, and I think he's telling anybody else who'll listen, and clearly at least becoming a little more forceful as well publicly.
Yeah, I think Eamon Javers has some more color from the White House on this brewing rivalry. Eamon.
Yeah, Sarah, that's right. This is a behind-the-scenes rivalry that's now exploding into public view between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro, two very different wings of the Trump administration internally. I do now have a reaction to all this from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. I just spoke to her a couple of moments ago. Her reaction to the statement from Elon Musk calling Peter Navarro truly a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks is, whatever. We are the most transparent administration in history, expressing our disagreements in public. So clearly, the attitude from the president and from the White House more broadly is, sort of a boys will be boys attitude here that you get from that particular statement from Caroline Leavitt, that these two people disagree, they're disagreeing in public, and the president is getting a range of views in terms of all the inputs as he considers where to go with this trade war, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, to David's point, like Navarro took a shot at Musk on the air in response to a shot I think that was taken at him. One of them is a CEO that operates a business that does a lot of business in China and around the world, and the other is a hawk on trade. So right. I think it represents, how a lot of CEOs are feeling what Musk is channeling.
And the question is, from Trump's perspective, is which of these two people does Donald Trump trust more? Is going to be a longer-term player in the Trump orbit, has been a longer-term player in the Trump orbit. And I would just point out to you that Peter Navarro literally went to jail last year to politically protect Donald Trump. Elon Musk hasn't done that. Elon Musk has been here for a couple of months. He's been very close to the president over those couple of months. But the Navarro relationship with Trump is longer standing and more deeply loyal than the Elon Musk relationship with Trump is, even though the Elon Musk relationship has been so dramatically public over the past couple of months, and we've seen all these pictures of Elon and the president together. That is a relatively new relationship. So if you're Donald Trump, who do you listen to more intently there? Is it Musk or is it Navarro? Of course, Trump has enormous respect for Musk, his history of building companies, and his wealth as well.
And his wealth and the money that has obviously been contributed to both support his campaign and other Republicans around the country as well.
Yes.
Eamon, everybody I have spoken to, again, close to Musk indicates that when you see the two together, you really, not many get to fly on the helicopter to Air Force One, but Musk does. I don't know if you've heard the same, but they, because you're always looking for that. I've been asking, well, aren't they going to at some point end up fighting with each other? And the answer has been uniformly no, not if you see them together. So I'd be very curious as well. Eamon's point is a good one in terms of if there is somebody to side with, which way do you go here?
But it all is happening, of course, Eamon, at the same time, as we've been saying, where it seems as if the Navarro hardline camp is maybe in a little bit of retreat or sideline for the moment. And, yesterday he had an op-ed says no negotiations, and by the end of the day, all we're talking about is negotiations.
Yeah, exactly. And the White House saying, well, at the time Navarro wrote that statement, that was the operating principle here at the White House, and maybe that's shifted a little bit. Clearly over the past, I would say, 12, not quite 24 hours, the Navarro wing has been a little bit in retreat here at the White House. Navarro on CNBC yesterday morning saying, this is not a negotiation, laying out a vision of tariffs as more of a permanent economic state of affairs. And then you had Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, putting out this statement that he was negotiating with the Chinese at the president's direction, indicating that it very much is a negotiation. And the president sort of waffling on all this in the Oval Office, saying, you know what, it can be both. It can be both a negotiation and a permanent state of affairs. And so I think this goes back to, this discussion last week in the market of, whether or not April 2nd would be a clearing event for the markets and we would now get certainty. Clearly this is going to be an ongoing process. There are going to be negotiations. There are going to be levers pulled by this White House. Things are going to fluctuate up and down, and that will, my guess is, just my analysis and nothing more than that, is that will last throughout the president's term, because the president likes tariffs. He likes the unilateral control. He likes the ability of the tariffs to force countries and companies to come to the Oval Office and offer him deals. You heard Scott Bessent talking about, we'll see what these other countries have to offer. The president sees that as him being in the driver's seat economically and then being able to carve out a deal in each case that's best for American workers. And they're very much focused here on workers, not on markets.
Well, they are being transparent, even when they're fighting, to Levitt's point. That's happening.
Yep.
More palace intrigue, I guess. Thank you, Eamon Javers.
You bet.
Guys, I know that the market is in a good mood now because of the negotiations happening, but there's no negotiations happening with China at this point, even with President's post on Truth Social this morning. And I do want to talk about something that is sort of the... when I see rhetoric like China will fight to the end.
I wanted you to talk about this. I said to Jim, Sarah's going to tell me what's going on here.
Here's what I want to show you.
Why are yields up, Sarah?
China will fight to the end. Here's what we don't want the end to be. So here are the foreign holders of our debt. This is who finances our deficits. This is who owns our treasuries. Japan is the #1 foreign holder, more than $1 trillion. China has almost $700 billion worth of U.S. treasuries. Now, that's come down a lot. Fine. That, we do not want that weaponized. Now, foreigners hold overall about 1/3 of U.S. government bonds, right? So there's a lot held domestically.
Well, the Fed has a lot, right?
Fed has a lot, banks have a lot. So the nuclear option is that China chooses to weaponize treasuries, and then we get into questions about the U.S. dollar. There's not indication, and that would hurt them as well.
Of course.
However, fight to the end. I just want to be aware of this risk.
They've never owned a smaller percentage of our debt than right now.
I said they've been shrinking it.
It's like 2 to 3%.
Right.
I mean, it was a time when it was actually.
By the way, isn't it possible that a lot of other places are selling as well? Aren't capital flows?
Canada's
yesterday capital flows were not coming here; they were going away.
That's very true, and I also think that there is some just general liquidation of certain strategies going on. You don't have to get into it, but basically there's an unwind of some trades where you belong the treasuries and short something else, short the futures.
So you don't think it's necessarily a reflection of diminishing credibility and or concern?
Everything is in
rising concern?
Everything's in the pile.
I think it's not a 0% probability anymore when you have a war against and so far it's just been a trade war, right? We're talking about goods and deficits, trade deficits.
Declared war on 60 countries.
We do not want a capital war, is what I'm saying, and that is not a 0% risk. I just want to show one other chart which shows what is at stake here, and that is foreign direct investment into the United States. It has risen both in trillions of dollars and also in share of GDP. The U.S. has been a great story for foreign direct investment, and this was what President Trump has been seeing. I mean, the SoftBanks of the world, the Middle Eastern countries, that all wanting to pour money into it. If we have a global recession where he's picked a fight with all countries that are friend and foe, and the U.S. is no longer considered the exceptional place for assets and capital, then that is just something else that's at risk. Again, none of this happening, not fear-mongering, but I'm just saying that there are other things to consider when it comes to U.S. dependence and reliance and benefit from foreign money.
Absolutely. Disengagement has its cost, for sure.